Given the state of affairs in our nation and our community life, the idea that if two of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by God in heaven is intriguing for sure, to say the least. So on the face of it, this morning, this verse from the 18th chapter of Matthew encourages us to become to agreement about that which would please God. I think it would please God if there were more agreement about the things of love and kindness and mercy, so that love would grow here and wherever we are. It would please God if we would lay aside our strong, sometimes hateful speech and listen to each other more. It would please God if we could even agree to disagree with some sense of respect for each other. All that's more of a challenge these days than ever before. My wife has a friend and a Rotary Club member who owns a wonderful ice cream place at Point of Rocks Ice Cream Creamery. Point of Rocks Creamery, or some name like that, but the ice cream is really good. She tells the story just a week or two ago that a man came and ordered a double cone of ice cream with vanilla and chocolate. And apparently he said he wanted the vanilla on the bottom. And the cone came and the chocolate was on the bottom. And he got furious with her, started yelling, pulled out his phone and said, "I'm going to call the police." You can't make this stuff up, friends. You can't make it up. It's a true story. It is safe to say that all people, even the most committed, loving couples, for instance, disagree on various aspects of their life together. For example, my wife, Pat, and I almost always choose a different route to go someplace, without fail. For example, my wife, Pat, and I, in choosing this route, or trying to agree about a route to go to the same place we might visit in Frederick, where we have lived for many years. Our internal GPSs are quite different, it seems. Over the years, we have found ways to work out these difficult ways of seeing the world and getting around in the community. We also have different ideas about what time we should leave to go where we need to go. Anybody recognize this story? Before I say more how we've worked out these differences or disagreements, let me just acknowledge that I don't imagine God cares much at all about which route we take to the movies or to a place to shop. God, I suppose, cares about our getting there safely. God does care about whether and how we agree about our views on social issues like racism, or war, and peace. Nevertheless, Pat and I have figured out how to avoid conflict around the route we take, the time we leave, and by the way, the seat we take at the movies. I decide what time we leave home and the route we take, and Pat decides where we sit in the movie. Fair enough, really. We never agree about the best seats to take in the movies, but now we do, because she decides. I get to decide on the route and to the movie, and as a result, we don't have disagreements anymore about these mundane things of our lives. It has not necessarily generalized itself to everything else that we might disagree about, but at least for this part of our lives, it works. We agree on the important things, I heard. Someone said that? As I read the scriptures for this Sunday, I imagine that Jesus was thinking about much more important issues than the mundane things a couple might disagree about in any given moment of time. Many Jesus scholars claim that the only place in the Bible where Jesus talks about the church is right here in the 18th chapter of Matthew. This is about conflict management. Business gurus say the best problem solving is quick, is direct, and happens at the lowest possible level. Amongst the workers first. I think Jesus is saying the same thing in our text today. People who identify problems should address them directly, humbly and respectfully and discreetly. Jesus is not really giving us a command. I think he's giving us permission to solve our problems face to face. If someone sins against you, then go to them and work it out, he says. He's talking to the church in Rome. He's talking to the church, period. This depends in some part on what one might define as a sin. For me, the best definition I've ever been able to come up with is a sin is something that I do that separates me from myself. You ever feel that way? Separated from who you are and you don't know who you are and you feel like you might be losing your way, losing touch? It also, a sin is something we do that separates us from each other. And finally, it's anything we do that separates us from God. That's sin. That's it. So sit down with yourself and work it out. This is part of the sermon is absolutely for me. It's for no one else. It's just for me. Sit down, Gerry, and work out the anxiety or the concern or the worry that you might have or the thing that you said that you knew hurt someone else. And then sit down with another person together in honesty and work it out. Sit down with another person and work it out. Sit down with God and work it out, and let God work it out in you. Can you imagine this happening these days in the church or in the community or even in in our families? Such straight and honest talk is pretty rare. Jesus called the members of the churches in Rome to account. He gave them instructions on how to overcome the sin against one another. I know in the years of my ministry as a pastor, folks have been upset or even angry with me about something I said or did or didn't do, more often about something I didn't do. It is sad to say that in most all of those cases, very few of those folks have come to me. Gerry, we need to talk. I need to tell you this. They often tell others. That's those parking lot meetings that people have afterwards. They often tell others, but not me, to my face, or even on the phone or by email. When someone has come to me and told me about something I said or didn't say or didn't do, I always respond as best I can with a listening ear. I'm usually defensive, maybe, but I sit and listen. When I left Glade United Church of Christ after 14 years, I wrote a personal card to every person in the church. It took me months, but I wrote one to everyone, thanking them for some particular thing our experience we'd had together, sharing an appreciation I had for them. And one of the people I particularly wanted to write to and was one who we seemed like we never got along after about the second year of my ministry there. And so I saw her one day after I'd sent the cards out, and I asked if she got my card. And she looked at me and kind of rolled her eyes, as she always did when she looked at me in passing, and said, "Yeah, I got it." So, how come we never got on with each other? It just always felt hurt. Somehow we never connected. And she said, the first year you were here, within the first 3 months, you told the congregation that you were going to visit every single family in the church. You know the next line, right? You never came to see me. And after 12 years of, I guess, holding that grudge, building a wall between us, we finally sat down, and I was able to beg forgiveness and to say how sorry I was. And I still hurt about that. I got too busy. The church asked too much, and I forgot my promise. Living together with our differences is hard, and living together in love and peace can also be the greatest joy. I appreciate what Paul says to the church in the text from Romans for today. Owe no one anything except to love one another. For the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. Love our neighbor as yourself. Love, and then he says this, I love this. Love does no wrong to a neighbor. Love does no wrong to a neighbor. Paul says a cool thing here. Love does no wrong to a neighbor. You want to restore a relationship? Love does no wrong. Indeed, love grows here. Indeed, when 2 or 3 gather together in love, they not only find agreement, not necessarily agreement about the subject being discussed, but agreement to hold each other in care and grace. And may it be so with you and with me this day. Amen.